I discovered my mother cheating on my father with his best friend. They tried to silence me, but my recordings ended them both. Hello Reddit, I plus here. I'm Daniel. I'm 24 now, but this story happened when I was 19. My last year of high school. At the time, my parents, Martin and Elena, had been married for 25 years. My father was the definition of steady. An engineer who built his own small construction company from scratch. He was hardworking, loyal, and completely devoted to us. My mother, well, she was different. She was the beautiful one. Elegant, always perfectly dressed, always the center of attention. People loved her, or at least they thought they did. And then there was Victor, my dad's best friend since college. He wasn't family by blood, but he might as well have been. I'd grown up calling him Uncle Vic. He came to every holiday, every birthday. My dad trusted him with everything. Which is why what I discovered still makes my stomach turn. It happened on a Tuesday afternoon. My last class got canceled, so I headed home early. I expected to walk in and hear Mom in the kitchen or music playing from her phone like always. Instead, silence. At first, I thought she'd gone out, but as I climbed the stairs, I heard voices coming from my parents' bedroom. One of them was Victor's. I froze. At first, I told myself they were just talking, but then I heard laughter, soft, breathless laughter, then whispers, then the unmistakable sound of someone shushing the other playfully. My chest tightened. I took one step closer, the door just slightly ajar, and there they were, my mother and Victor, in my father's bed, tangled together like they'd done it 100 times before. My vision blurred for a second. It wasn't just betrayal. It was the destruction of my entire reality in one glance. I didn't walk in. I didn't shout. I didn't even breathe too loudly. I backed away, heart pounding, my hands shaking so badly I had to grab the banister to steady myself. I knew if I confronted them right then, they'd deny it. Victor was Dad's best friend. Of course Dad would believe him over me if it came to he said, she said situation. I needed proof. For the next week, I acted like nothing happened, smiled at my mom at dinner, nodded politely when Victor came over, but inside, I was boiling. Finally, one afternoon, I confronted my mom privately in the kitchen. I know, I said. My voice was shaking, but my eyes didn't leave hers. I know about you and Victor. And I'm telling Dad. For a moment, she didn't even blink. Then, she smiled. It was the coldest smile I've ever seen. You don't know what you're talking about, Danny, she said softly. And if you do, you'd better forget it. If you say a word, I'll make sure you regret it. You'll be sent away to live with your grandparents in the middle of nowhere. You'll lose everything here. And don't think your father will believe you. Victor's his best friend. Who do you think he'll side with? She wasn't bluffing. My mother wasn't angry. She was calculating. So I nodded slowly. Fine, I said. I won't say anything. But in my head, I was already planning my move. A few days later, it happened again. I heard them upstairs. This time, I was ready. I pressed record on my phone before I even reached the door. I didn't need a video. Just the voices, the laughter, the whispers. I stayed there long enough to capture more than enough proof. I kept that file like it was gold. The next day, I called Dad and asked if we could meet for coffee. Just the two of us. He knew that wasn't normal for me. So he agreed. We sat down, and without a word, I slid my phone across the table and pressed play. His face went pale. At first, confusion. Then shock. Then pain. When the recording ended, he sat still for a long moment. Then he stood. Let's go home, he said. The drive back was silent, except for the sound of his knuckles cracking as he gripped the steering wheel. When we walked in, Mom was in the kitchen making dinner, acting like nothing was wrong. Elena, my father said, his voice low and dangerous. She turned, smiling at first, then freezing when she saw his expression. What's wrong? She asked, trying to sound innocent. He didn't answer. He just pulled out my phone and hit play. The sound of her voice, breathy, intimate, filled the kitchen. She went white. Before she could say a word, Victor walked in, clearly invited for dinner. He froze when he saw us, his face draining of color. My dad didn't hesitate. He crossed the room in 2 steps and hit him so hard he went to the floor. Victor stammered, trying to apologize, but Dad kicked him out, literally. If I ever see you near my family again, I'll ruin you, Dad said through clenched teeth. That night, my father started divorce proceedings. He told me to pack my things. We were leaving. Within a week, it was official. Mom was left in the house alone. Victor vanished. Apparently, loyalty wasn't part of his vocabulary. Mom called a few times over the years, crying, apologizing. I never answered. To me, she wasn't my mother anymore. She was just someone who had traded her family for a fling. The truth didn't set me free. It shattered me, but at least my father knew. At least I wasn't forced to carry her secret like a parasite inside me. I learned something that year. Sometimes the truth burns everything to the ground, and sometimes that's the only way to build something honest from the ashes. After the divorce, Dad and I started over in a small apartment across town. It wasn't much, but it was quiet, peaceful. For the first time in months, we could sit at the dinner table without walking on eggshells. No fake smiles, no hidden daggers behind every conversation. But peace doesn't last when someone like my mother is involved. It started subtly. An aunt, Mom's sister, called me out of the blue. "Danny, you know your mother's been through a lot," she said in that syrupy tone people use when they're about to manipulate you. "She's lonely. She misses her family. Don't you think it's time to forgive?" I didn't even hesitate. She didn't just hurt Dad, she hurt me. I'm not ready. The silence on the other end told me she wasn't expecting me to stand firm. Then came the chance encounters. One Saturday, Dad and I went grocery shopping. While we were walking to the car, she appeared from between two parked vehicles. Hair done, makeup perfect, like she'd planned it. "Martin," she called softly, "can we talk?" Dad didn't even slow down. "There's nothing to talk about, Elena." She tried again, this time with tears brimming. "We were married 25 years. Don't throw it all away for one mistake." He turned to face her, his voice low but steady. "It wasn't one mistake. It was years of betrayal, and I'm done being the fool." He opened the car door for me and we drove away. She stood there in the parking lot, watching us leave, but she didn't stop. She sent messages through cousins, through my grandmother, even through old neighbors. The stories kept changing. "Your mother is sick. She's in financial trouble. She's finally realized what she lost." But Dad didn't bite, not once. One evening, I asked him why. He set his glass of water down and looked at me. "Son, forgiving her wouldn't rebuild our family. It would just reopen the door for her to burn us again. I'm done living in a house full of smoke." Months passed, and eventually her attempts slowed. Dad rebuilt his company. He started going to the gym. He smiled more. Then, a year later, he met someone, Laura. She wasn't flashy like Mom. She was warm, grounded, and genuinely kind. The first time I saw them together laughing over coffee, I realized something important. Sometimes moving on isn't about finding someone better. It's about finally finding peace. As for Mom, she still lives in that big house, alone. People say she's aged 10 years in the last 5. Maybe she has. But she made her choices, and Dad and I made ours. We chose to keep walking forward without her.